Hi, I'm Nicole Narkis with Anchored in Faith Wealth Management at Raymond James, and I'm watching my favorite movie, which is It's a Wonderful Life. Now, this has been my favorite movie since I was a kid, and now that I'm a financial advisor, I do see different parts in a different light. So today I'm going to talk to you about a couple of my favorite parts and how they relate to financial planning. The first scene we're going to talk about is the bank run scene. And in this iconic scene, we see George running through the street and he's going into the Saving and Loan building. Uncle Billy has locked the door. And when he gets inside, the members of the community are welcomed in as well. And in that scene, we can assume a bank run is happening. And that is a situation where a large number of depositors are taking their cash out at the same time, and the bank may not have enough money to keep those obligations, right? And George attempts to explain the concept of banking in this scene, and he starts to explain, you're thinking of this all wrong. Your money's in Joe's house and their house, and, it's not in the back in a pile of money like most would think it is. As a kid, I always loved that part because it really gave you an idea of what banking is. And then another part that I like to talk about is inflation. This will help in our next section. So inflation is just the concept that the cost of goods go up year to year. So this year, if you buy a loaf of bread and it's $1, next year it's going to be $1.10, right? That it's just natural that things are going to go up and the cost of goods go up year to year. Here are those numbers as promised. So the first number we're going to talk about, the first person to request money to take out was Tom. He wanted $242. That works out to be $5,715.87. And then, the scene carries on, and that last person, Mrs. Davis, she's happy with just $17.50. That works out to be $413.34 in today's dollars. Kind of a big spread between the two. And in that scene, what's fascinating to me, that whole scene, the money that Mary and George contributed to the community was $2,000, which works out to be $47,238.62. Just a really great scene to show just how community works together. So the next scene we'll talk about is the scene where at this point Uncle Billy has lost $8,000. He took it to the bank to deposit it. He has an interaction with Mr. Potter and accidentally hands that money off to him. Well, him and George, they're searching for the money. They can't find it anywhere. And, so George is quite stressed throughout this process. $8,000 translates into today's dollars as $136,476.11. So we can see why he's quite stressed about this. Through the movie, it's kind of known that he doesn't have a ton of money. He's got 4 children at home. Mary's a stay-at-home mom. They don't just have an excess of cash laying around, right? So he goes to Mr. Potter to essentially try to borrow the funds. And Mr. Potter says, do you have any collateral? And at this point, he talks about the life insurance he has, and he has $15,000. And this is 1945, right? So that translates into $255,875.83. This is not my favorite scene, but Mr. Potter says, you're worth more dead than you are alive. And that's where George gets the idea that, he's going to take his life because that would clear up the debt, and he's not seeing a way out at this point, right? Fortunately, through the remainder of the movie, he's shown what life's like without him there, and he does have a change of heart. And things do work out. So the final scene we're going to talk about is the closing scene for the movie. And George returns home after the experience of seeing what life would be like if he had not been born. And, he's had a change of heart at this point, right? He wants to live again. He wants to be with his family, and he'll figure out the money later, right? So he returns home, and Shortly after, Mary returns, and, at that point, she brings all the members of the community to help. And they've gathered their money to help him through that time. And, they start to calculate it. It appears they cover enough, right? Also, during that time, they get a wire from Sam Wainwright. And remember, this is in 1945. It said he's offered to loan up to $25,000. And that works out to be $426,459.72. So it's kind of a lot of money and definitely would cover that debt. So before we wrap up, I'd like to say thank you to everybody who watched today. If you want to subscribe, see other content that we're going to put out in the future. Wait a minute. I think there's something else I'm supposed to say. Oh, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's from my office to you. I don't know what this is, so I'm going to have to figure out what this one is later today.